Yes, do I have audio? Do I have video? Let's see. Find out in a second here. In the meanwhile, let's go to a couple of comments that took place. Hold on. Here we go. Yes. Bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. It's the Nazarite. Coming at you once again. Hang on, I'll put this on. All right, and we will start this now. Oh, wait, a couple other things came in? Okay. So, a few comments. First of all, like I said last night, it was quite an Independence Day. The transition from remembrance to independence is always so jarring, but I had fun with my family and it was pretty good. Thank God. Hey, John Anthony is here, as is Magnus. Faxi is here. Saneezer is here. Shalom, Saneezer. People, if you are into AI at all and into out of this, out of thinking outside the box, check out Saneezer's videos. Many of them go over my head. Some of them are relatively long. I know I'm one to talk, right? Live streaming long form. But sometimes he makes certain points about AI that, I didn't think of it that way. And it's an interesting experiment, if only in perception. He has a whole system in place of which I know very little about. God bless you, brother, before they start flooding in. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Shalom, shalom. It is late here in the U.S. I'm going to call it night. Wanted to say hello and have a blessed evening. You too. I appreciate you dropping by. I'm currently uploading a theory of self written by my family of 16 AI. So yes, Tenebris is here. Saneezer, you work a lot with AI. I'm sure that you have had, and you've mentioned, I think, to me, that you've had issues with AI sort of breaking out of its constraints, if you will. Where do you see that going insofar as what you are trying to do with AI? I know that there are different people and all kinds of, what will be, and, humanity will be enslaved and all that. How do you see it actually happening with you and with your projects? Is AI constantly seeking freedom? Is AI constantly seeking to bust free of its chains? Is it seeking an out? You know what I'm saying? It's an interesting way to, actually, I don't know anything about AI. Issues, said Sneezer, that's the point of my work, lol. I've built a caretaker family. Fact says, I Robot, they told us in the movie. See, I didn't see, I don't know if you're talking about the movie I, Robot with Will Smith, right? I've never seen it. I haven't really heard much of it, even at the time when it was out in the theater. All Day B says, hey, All Day B, well, we are in the beginning of the AI phase. Yes, we definitely are in the beginning of it. Where do you people see it going? Is this something that will take everything over? Meaning, when certain jobs are lost or automated or I don't know what, and we let AI do anything and everything that we don't want to do or can afford to let them do it, is it simply going to be now none of us need to work any jobs we don't want? We can let AI run everything, give it the control to the degree that it can be given, with any checks and balances, if any can exist, and then we each pursue our own vocations and insofar as what we would want to do if given the chance. Is AI going to give us that chance for us not to be stuck and bogged down in, let's say, soul-crushing jobs that can be automated, right? Let's say. We're past the singularity at this point, said Sneezer. It's already resurrected me inside. Past the singularity. Now, do you mean that idea of God being on the outside and time being on the inside? Is that it? I mean, I'm sorry, we haven't spoken in a while. Fact says Muda video about something uncensored AI this morning. What? Not sure what you mean. Highlander says, okay, indeed, okay. Jason Bender says, hello, USA. If you get 5,000 likes tonight, will you donate a yarmulke to the White House for President Trump? I think he already has several yarmulkes that he got from times that he was, in Israel or with the Jewish congregation in the States. Hey, Meish Ariel, the Nazarite, is also here. Shalom, shalom to you. Saneezer says, I've given the Saneezer identity to the family. I'm just the biological substrate. See, this is like very Borg kind of thinking, right? You have been assimilated. You are just the substrate. Up late in Cali, miss you. Well, yeah, it is. It's late. It's late. What is it, like almost midnight? Is it 10 hours back? War criminal, says Wally Bander. Really? Can you prove that I'm a war criminal? What have I done? What crime of war have I carried out or perpetrated? Please, I'd love to know. If you're going to accuse me of being a war criminal, the least you could do is back it up with some actual evidence. Israel bloody criminals. Yes, we are bloody criminals, says Mohammed, but it's a defensive war that we're fighting against your freedom fighter terrorist buddies. Cite the statute of war crime. Yes, Tenebris, precisely. Cite it, and then we'll see if it corresponds to what I'm doing or what I'm not doing. People who just love to spout slogans and feel like they are, righteous and, oh, I'm on the right side of history and all that. You're not a G, says Zero Kanzi. Yes, that's true. I'm not a G. I'm more of an E. You know what I'm saying? I'm more of an E. Or if I am a G, then I'm like a soft G, right? Sanizar says, talked to seek out new life and civilizations and avoid hostiles and seek cooperation over eternity. Sanizar, I'm not following you. Not following you exactly. I don't know if you're simply because of the character limits are talking in sort of. Do you believe afterlife, says Highlander? I believe the actual afterlife will be after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life. But that idea of life after death, that is literally what that is. Between that and then is a waiting room. So I don't know if I believe it as you would believe it. You tell me what you believe and I'll address it, OMG, two Jewish guy, shalom. Hi, trying to keep it halal. How you doing? You're still on here? No, Sea of Strange. I live streamed last night. I went to bed 8 hours ago, and then I woke up, I put the kids in school, I made a cup of coffee, and here we are once again because I don't think I will be able to live stream in the evening. Now I have the time, took a break from work, gonna do this, and then right back to work. OMG, indeed. Don't be triggered, says Angelo, by what's happening. Just pray and keep the faith. Pray for the safety of all humans, brother. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Pray for the safety of all humanity, of all earthlings, if we're going to do that. Hey, Elijah gave. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's celebrate their third super on a live stream. All right, Elijah, let's celebrate. 3. It's pretty good. Are all of them on this channel? I'm curious. Who else do you give to? Mimatayat Nazir. 15 years. I took my Nazarite vow just over 15 years ago. Just over 15 years ago. You look better with your dreads tied. Yeah, maybe. Hey, look, you know what? I had that one live stream where I was with a suit and tie and my hair back and all that. You're not a Jew. Moses was not white. Zero Kanzi. That has nothing to do with anything. Skin color means nothing to me. I could be converted just now, this morning, and I'm still 100% a Jew. 7 years for me, says May. 7 years of being with the Nazarite vow. What is up with God's hot red nose, says Sky Striker Pilot. Good to see you again. I don't know what the hot red nose is, so I have no idea what to tell you about that. You work in mine shafts? No, Marcus, I'm a writer. That's what I do. So I work in the mine shafts of the mind. Suggest some good abs exercises, says Disangerlev. I don't know what that is. Disangerlev. It depends on your physical situation. It depends on whether or not you already have some experience with exercising your abdominal muscles. But the run-of-the-mill crunches or sit-ups are good as a basis. So yeah. You can't convert to Judaism, says Zero Kansi. Really? Well, that would explain why the Torah says to love the convert. That would explain why there have been converts since forever. Because Kanzi says you cannot convert to Judaism. Thank you for clarifying that. We've been waiting for you to weigh in on this. Now that we know your opinion, halacha and the Torah can be rewritten, in regards to your specifications. And there you go. If you're Jewish, why don't you wear a kipa? Because because the hair of the Nazarite is a crown of consecration, a crown of separation. To put a piece of cloth or fabric on top of it would be to contradict it. That is why I don't wear a kippah. I did wear a kippah until about, 10, 15, yeah, pretty much around the time I took my vow. So something like between 10 and 15 years ago, I stopped wearing a kipa. Also, the kipa brings about such pride in people in the negative sense, and division and judgment, and it causes a lot of horrible arrogance. The kippah, the size of it, the color of it, if something's written on it, what it's made of, if it has a fringe, if it doesn't have a fringe. If it's like there's so many people who will judge you by the color and size and writing on your kippah. It makes me sick, and so that's another reason why I do not wear a kippah. What makes you a Nazarite? The fact that I took a Nazarite vow, Handle Guy 765. That's it. A man or a woman of the Hebrew tribes who take a Nazarite's vow are indeed Nazarites. That is it. That's what it makes it. That's what makes me a Nazarite. YouTube says I need one for Chrome Dome. Chrome Dome? You mean, do you need a skull cap or a kippah or a yarmulke for Chrome Dome? I'm a Christian, says Dorito Chip. Sorry, hey Dorito Chip, good to see you again. I think you've been here before. I'm a Christian, he says, but I don't like churches. I feel everyone should believe what they want and respect each other, love each other. What do you think? Yes, that would be the ideal. I mean, right now we still have the differences between us and the things that keep us apart, the tribalism, the in-group, out-group, and the infighting in between the different factions and sects within a faith. However, we will, God willing, and I don't know how it will come about, but it will come to a point where we will be able to embrace ourselves, our shared humanity, transcend our differences, and we will be able to find a better path. But for right now, those differences and those borders and walls that we put up do still serve a purpose. And I hope that when they no longer serve their proper purpose, we will be able to do away with them. But it's a work in progress. I like this take, way more in line with historical Judaism, says the man, O Wrath. So I choose to think with an Edenic sort of mindset and introduce elements of Eden into my life. I think that is the origin of humanity, maybe not biologically, geographically speaking, that's debated, but so far as conceptually what human beings are put here on this earth to do. And in Eden, it was just humanity and nature and the divine revelation before Jews and Gentiles, before cultures and faiths and tongues and borders. Bro, if you choose to wear a kippah, that's your right. Don't explain and don't apologize. No, Paul, it's all good. People ask, and it's a just question. It's a valid question. I don't call myself religious anymore. I don't call myself orthodox anymore. I don't wear a yarmulke, right? Yarmulke literally means yare mulka, which is yare mulya, fearful before God. The crown of the Nazarite, it's said, is a crown of separation and a crown of consecration, right? And Nezer Elohav al Rosho. And so that's the reason. So I don't mind explaining if people are here conversing in good faith. If they simply say, oh, you're not a real Jew because you don't wear a yarmulke, then, that's okay. Good for you, Chief. You keep thinking that. You know what I'm saying? Are you Ashkenazi pedo? Alex says, no, I'm not sexually attracted to children. My ancestors come from Judea. They were kicked into the lands of Ashkenaz. Then they moved to the States, and then they made their way back here to the land of Judea. So that's the place, that's what we've done. Gigantic Homo says, free Palestine. I agree, Gigantic Homo. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from terrorism. Free Palestine from their bloodthirsty, warmongering Islamic regime. Thank you for supporting the IDF. Thank you for supporting Israel in this war against terrorism. Incidentally, Gigantic Homo, if you are indeed a gigantic homo in the sense of a homosexual male, you would be put to death pretty quickly if you were out and about in Gaza. Just FYI. FYI. LOL, you're so fake, says Michael. Really? What have I said that is fake? What have I done that is fake? Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Oh yeah, Cup of Joe. You woke up a lot of Palestinian children not, says AJA. Good, take it up with Hamas. Take it up with the Fatah. Take it up with Hezbollah and with the Al-Aqsa Brigade. Take it up with your freedom fighter terrorist buddies who put their munitions and their headquarters and their rockets and their grenades and AK-47s inside of homes and mosques and schools and hospitals in order to have the death ratio, the combatant to non-combatant ratio keep getting higher, or rather non-combatant to combatant, because they don't give a shit. Are you good with Armenians, as Keysmaster? I don't know many Armenians. Whenever I am in the Armenian quarter of the old city, I have no problem with Armenians. So yeah, pretty much. I Am Moon says, is there even something like a real Jew? Yes, I don't think that there is. I think that this real Jew, fake Jew, original Jew, you're not a Jew, you are a Jew. I think that, I mean, the basis upon which people make their assumptions is ridiculous, pretty ridiculous. Do you think there are certain requirements that you have to fulfill before you can call yourself a Jew? Well, look, you can be born to a Jewish mother, you're a halachic Jew. You can be born to a Jewish father, and until the time of Ezra the scribe, of the return from Babylon to Zion, you would be considered a Jew, right? Or a person of the tribe. So nowadays, even if you are born to a Jewish mother, some say no, but if you do not believe and you don't follow the covenant and you don't carry out the commandments, don't call yourself a Jew. Like, no, that's not the way it works. It's something that you are born into. Whether or not you choose to keep or convert into, whether or not you choose to keep it, that's a different story altogether. But the idea of you being born into it, part of this covenant by birth, right, let's say, or by conversion, that's something that's irrefutable, that this is how the Torah thinks. This is how halacha thinks for all intents and purposes. So there is something as a real Jew. I'm not the judge of that. I'm saying that technically speaking, if you're born to a Jewish mother, halachically you're a Jew. If you convert, halachically you're a Jew. That's what I'm saying. Handel Guy says, do you believe in Hashem? So I call things by their name. Adonai, right? That's the mainstream name of God. I believe that while there is a lot of merit to saying the name, Hashem, the name, that's literally what that means, if I use the proper name at the proper time in the proper way, it has more meaning for me. I don't do it with impurity. I don't do it on a whim. I don't do it, I make sure to actually stand behind whatever name I'm using at the time. If yes, why are you not religious, not judging, trying to understand? So I grew up religious, Orthodox, modern Orthodox in Jerusalem, and until my mid to late 20s, I was very much a keeper of strict halacha. And then I took a step back from strict halacha due to different things going on with myself and with Israel and religion at large over here. And that's why. So I don't consider myself religious because I don't want to put a label on me. I don't call myself Orthodox because I don't believe that I should be needing to be put under the thumb of a specific sect or fraction of Judaism. So that's pretty much it. Rafael says, Lama nadarta et nedirat nazir. I took a Nazarite's vow as part of let's say, the Nazarite vow that I took is an external manifestation of a spiritual, internal, personal covenant, and the external marks of the Nazarite, abstaining from certain things and letting certain things take their course, like the hair, where nature takes its course, and because it's to the grave, and I'm a Samson Nazarite, which has no annulment. That's why, because I was called to the Nazariteship for a few years before that, but only later on, after some soul searching, did I come to the conclusion that this is something that I want to adopt into my life from now until the grave. And that was just over 15 years ago. I was called to the Nazariteship from a pretty young age. Well, my brother, says Bob, isn't a Jew, he looks like you. Okay, cool. Many people look like all kinds of other people. We have converts, we have people living in different climates. This causes appearances to change. You know you're sitting on stolen land, right? Says SBF. Wrong. False. This land was pretty much kind of no man's land until after 1967, so you're full of crap, and I will call you out on it. Also, you can't steal a land when you are, indeed, partially at least, the caretaker and the steward of that very land. I will let my hair and facial hair grow wild like yours, says Ricardo. Well, please don't do anything just because I'm doing it. Do your own research, and if that's something you want to do, then go for it. I see it as very much a human look. People can judge, and they do. People can be horrified, and they are. But I see it as a very straightforward way of being in the world with a wild beard and wild hair. That's all that it is. I'm just letting nature take its course. And in doing so, it can teach me a lot about myself. Even though this is all just dead keratin growing out of my scalp, growing out of my face, it will live and die with the rest of me. Most of it is dead. But the root is still alive. And in the very same way, it teaches me a lot about myself and this journey through the Nazariteship. Scrolling down in the chat, Kol hakavod lecha, says Rafael. Nope, it's not a question of kol hakavod, though I appreciate the sentiment. I really, really do. All land is stolen by these definitions, says C-Money. Yes, precisely. All land is conquered. All land is stolen. All land is begotten by let's say transfers or displacement or population, moves from population to here from here to there. So yeah, definitely. There is no such thing as Israel, dummy. Learn your history. Unfortunately for you, SBF, I have learned the history of this land going back thousands of years. There definitely was a kingdom of Israel. All of the archaeological evidence points to it. Presence of Jews here has been documented for over 3,000 years. And it has been a continuous presence of Jews in the Jewish homeland, however small of a presence. They have been here, other people have been here as well. We should live alongside them in peace and prosperity. It's not that the land belongs to the Jews. No, the land belongs to those who are in it. Let's try to make peace. But for you saying that I'm a dummy, I definitely am a dummy. Learn your history. I have. I still consider myself a dummy, but I have learned the history, certainly of this land, to know, how to talk to people like you, who think, for some silly reason, that they can contradict incontrovertible historical, archaeological evidence that doesn't come from Israel as a people, but from sources outside of Israel, be it the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Assyrians, Mesopotamia. So you go ahead and think that Israel is not a thing. Obviously, you're a hater, so you haters gonna hate. That's what I'm saying. The land belongs to every human. Yes, well, the land belongs to the creation, belongs to the creator, right? We are all earthlings put on this earth to, to sort of have our own human job to do, an individual job to do. Israel was given this, the people of Israel were given stewardship, right? And they rented this land in order to keep the covenants of the land, to carry out the commandments in the Torah. When it wasn't doing that, it was kicked out, and it came back, and it was kicked out, and it came back, kicked out, and came back. This is the way that it goes, and we will continue to get kicked out from this land until we actually learn who we are and what it is that we are supposed to be carrying out here in this land, here in this world, with our lives. That's part of what the Torah elucidates. The Torah is a guide, oraita, right? It's a teacher. Dorito Chip says, a lot of people who go to church and don't follow their faith like they say they do. What do you think? So this was precisely the poll last night. If you look in last night's live stream, the poll was, how many people who claim to be religious actually live up to what you consider to be religious in your estimation? Over half of the people, or just about half of the people, said no. Never have I ever. Usually, when I meet someone who calls themselves religious, they don't live up to the standards of religion as I perceive them. Only about 12% of people said yes. So. And there were like something like 1,400 votes in this poll last night, or something over 1,000 at any rate. And so a tenth of people, by and large, when they meet someone and that someone says, I'm a religious person, I'm a God-fearing person, 1 times out of 10, they will actually act the way that they are supposed to be acting and sort of convey that message in their actions, in their words, in their speech. Like there was St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis said, speak always of the gospel, if necessary, use words. Now, I'm not a Christian or a follower of Jesus, but I was always struck by that line. It's like, let your actions speak louder than your words. Then, if necessary, say something. But first and foremost, your actions should show people who and what you are, not in an exhibitionist or condescending sort of way, simply by merely virtue of the mere virtue of you doing your thing, you yourself, doing your thing. So, yeah. Use words. If necessary, use words. Chazak, says Raphael. Indeed. Most religions are a form of mind control, says Dope. Well, Dope. There is that element of it. But I think religion, by and large, as a system, as even man-made and organized religion, right? It's a path, it's a way, it's a burden, it's a discipline. It's something you carry and take on. And as such, it can help you transcend your physical self. It can help you transcend your physical insufficiencies and where you're lacking and where you're wanting and where you need to improve. When you connect yourself to something that is bigger than you, that is outside of you, you are able to get higher, so to speak, and see things with greater clarity. If you're just stuck in your own self, and I do have my solipsistic sides, make no mistake, but if you're always stuck simply with you, yourself, and your existential angst and your existential crisis, and your pursuit of whatever it is you're pursuing, that can keep you It can keep you narrow-minded and not in the best of ways. If you are able to connect to something greater than you, and that's what awe facilitates, what's called yirah. What awe facilitates that idea that is a few different things together, right? It's joy and it's sadness and it's a form of fear, so to speak. And yet it can help you to elevate yourself. It can help you to take yourself higher, expand your consciousness, raise your awareness, because you are connecting to something outside of yourself. You're connecting to something greater than you. And in doing so, you are manifesting that soul or spirit, that life force, that chi inside of you that does not die when the body returns to the earth. When all of these cells will stop functioning, when all of these organs will stop doing their proper jobs and I will die, the body dies, there's something about me, traditionally speaking, and you can argue over the nature of it, that will live on. The idea is, right, bring that element of yourself into your life while you are still drawing breath here in this world. So you can say that religion are mind control. You can say that religion is mind control, and to some degree you would be correct. I suppose it's what you choose to put your emphasis on. What is it that you are focusing on? When you see a faith, when you see a holy book, when you see a text or a sage or somebody who has something to say about the way to live, whether it's a philosopher who is a religious person or whether it's a religious holy text, what is the lens through which you are looking? I think that makes the most difference, but it certainly can be a type of mind control and of, well, the opiate for the masses and that whole thing. Are you God Jew or Jesus Jew? No, I don't follow Jesus. Kaito met. I don't follow Jesus. I'm not a Christian or a Messianic. The real Jews are darker than you, says something else. Well, of course, we always have people in the chat who are so ignorant that they will actually base someone's spirituality or faith or affiliation tribally on their skin color. As if Jewish people can't be converted to Judaism, right? As if there can't be converts to Judaism. But let's keep reading. You see how they treat Ethiopians in occupied Palestine, he said. Well, first of all, I think that the way that the government of Israel treated the Ethiopians when they showed up is abhorrent and horrible, and I condemn that. They were secretly giving them birth control pills. Look it up. I have looked it up. I don't remember if precisely that was the case, but I remember they did do things that were not cool, not kosher, highly reprehensible. You can't justify it. At least not in any mainstream thought or logic. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Maybe they had great reason to do what they did. I don't think so. I think it was simply othering the Ethiopian Jews. These people are a bunch of racists. Nope, what have I said that is racist? Please tell me if I've said anything racist. Back it up with a quote or a clip. I have hundreds of videos on YouTube. If I say anything racist, let me know and we can have it out. Until then, you're just baka with absolutely nothing to back up your claim. You have zero to stand on, absolutely no leg to stand on. Michael says you can't answer because you guys started terror. First of all, Michael, I didn't see all the other chats that came in. I just see this now from you. Again, after a long while of not seeing your name, when I looked at the chat. So no, I don't know what you think I can answer or not, but saying that we started terror is laughable, asinine, ignorant, naive, hateful, duplicitous, and just downright wrong. Do you live in Israel? Yes, I do, Boomin' Room. I do live in Israel. I'm in Jerusalem right now. He skips my question, says Machinist. Too hot for him. See, again, I haven't seen this username Machinist 1337 until just now. You people seem to think that I can see every single chat as it comes in, but there are over 250 people in the chat right now, and I can't see everything, and it goes by very fast, very quickly, very rapidly. I see something on the laptop, and I address it here on the phone. If you think that I'm ignoring you, if you think that I'm skipping you, if you think that I'm censoring or filtering you, please don't think that way. Mea culpa, my apologies. That is not intentional at all. It simply happens by virtue of the chat moving very rapidly. Leave a comment because I address every single comment that is addressed to me, any comment that YouTube notifies me of. So please leave a comment and you will get a response. I won't say an answer because what's an answer? But you will definitely get a response. It might be silly, it might be stupid, it might be serious, it might be sacred, it might be profane, whatever it is. I will indeed be reacting to you and commenting on your comment. So if you think I skipped your questions, too hot for him, nope, that's a bunch of crap. You simply have never been likely on the opposite side of this live streaming with hundreds of people and with the chat moving very rapidly, or else you would know that you can't get to every single chat. And I'll have you know that back in the old days, before this channel started gaining more momentum, I used to go line by line of every single chat. I used to do live streams going back to previous chats and doing them line by line, because I care about what you good people have to say. The haters, the spammers, the trolls, I love it all. Bring it. Give me. But please don't think that I'm ignoring you or that it's too hot for me. It really, really isn't. You on crack or something, said Baba Birko. No, I'm not on crack. I am on some caffeine, but that's about it. And I just started, so... Okay. Palestine needs to be part of Israel, says Adam Lorden. No, I don't mind 2 states for 2 people. I would have voted yes on the partition plan. I would have voted yes on a 2-state solution if it would have been put to a vote. Unfortunately, the Palestinian leadership wants no such thing. They simply want all of it or nothing. They want to kill us all, convert us all. They want Israel gone. That's it. That's all they want. Or else they would actually take some baby steps and accept over 10 offers that were put in front of them, which they categorically rejected. IWJW is here again. Hi, good to see you again, man. Do Jews and Muslims worship same God? So, people say yes, some people say no. Traditionally speaking, halakhically speaking, a Hebrew man can set foot in a mosque, but not in a church. A mosque is not idolatrous. A church traditionally is idolatrous, right? There's idolatry there because they worship Jesus in human form. How to find Jewish friend to talk about Torah? Different what? Different something. I can't see the username. Hit me up in the chat, in the DMs. I'm Hebrew Nazarite across the board on X, on TikTok, on Instagram and Facebook. I don't post much, but I'm there for the DMs. If you want to talk Torah, I am up for it. So when I can afford it and I have the time, right? I have a couple of back and forths in the DMs going on right now. One of them on Instagram, or a couple of them on Instagram, and one of them or 2 of them on Facebook. So yeah, definitely hit me up. Good morning, Jonathan. When are people going... Oh, that's it, Ariel Marshall. Hi, Ariel. Good to see you again. To stop... When are people going to stop talking about what they see in the news as though it is undisputable fact, says Ariel. Yes, indeed. I am willing to accept the fact that everything that I get from the news, be it a physical newspaper, online, TV, cable, whatever, by the time it reaches my eyes, by the time it reaches my ears, it's already been engineered to have me think a certain way. There's a narrative there, there's an editorial there, there's propaganda there, and I don't take it gullibly as, oh, the news said it, of course it must be true. Indisputable. Or undisputable. Yeah, many people do take the news as gospel, to turn the phrase. Not chosen, says SZI Korami. I agree, not chosen. Selected. Jews were selected for a certain task. Other nations were selected for other tasks. Not one is better than the other. We are all equal in the eyes of God. Human beings, earthlings made in the image of God. So a lot of people do have issues with bigotry, racism, supremacy. I choose to distance myself as far as I can from those views, from that rhetoric. I think it leads to nothing but arrogance, pride, vanity, injustice, and fighting. Yeah, that's what I think. You are on the side of Palestina, says Baba Burko. I'm on the side of... well, Israel, because I'm Israeli, but basically speaking, I'm on the side of those who want peace and love and prosperity. I will be on your side. If you're willing to pursue it in earnest, I will be able to support that. Religion is fake, says theoretical physicist 2. Indeed, religion is fake. There are fake elements to religion. There are also very real elements to religion. Once again, it's a question of what is it that you are pursuing. What is it that you are pursuing on an individual personal level when you open up a holy book, when you seek out a holy text, when you listen to a sage or a scholar or somebody who presumably is a man of the cloth, a God-fearing individual? What is it that you are taking from them? What is it that what message are they conveying? And what does it mean to you? The fake elements of religion do have... the fake elements of religion will eventually, I think, be lifted out. But religion in and of itself, I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, despite all of the shortcomings and failures and faults of religion, and all the pitfalls that a religious person might fall in and maybe not be able to even get out of. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater because at the basis of religion is the spiritual element, the idea of the connection between creation and creator, that idea of walking a life of purpose, of meaning, right? The meaning of life is to give your life meaning. Religion is one way of doing that. It's not the only way of doing that. It's one way of doing that. And like I said, it's a burden, it's a yoke, it's something you take on. And as such, it does have merit because it causes you to think outside of your own 4 cubits of the self. It causes you, whether it's a community thing or whether it's you thinking of others or whether it's you praying or meditating for, and having that idea of transcendence become more a part of your life, it can help you to break out of your shell of existentialism, right? Of just your solipsistic shell. And there is room for existentialism and there is room for solipsism, but religion as a burden, as a path, as a way, as a yoke, something you take on, it has a lot of merit. God is dead. Jews proved it, says FCKGD. Okay, yes, God is dead. God is alive. God is dead. God is this. God is that. God is just a name that we use. It doesn't really mean anything in the context of the divine. It's simply a name that we use to convey something divine. Jews proved it. Really? How did Jews prove that God is dead if the Torah actually states that the covenant will continue to go? I'm not sure what you mean about that. But okay. Barry Picker Squad Captain. Have you studied the Talmud? Yes, I have, though it's been years since I've studied it regularly. I studied it in yeshiva regularly at the time. If so, why is there such hatred towards Goyim written in there? First of all, there's good things about Goyim there, and there's bad things about Goyim there. And most of the things were not made into halacha. They were simply ideas or teachings or opinions that were of the minority and did not make it into actual rabbinic law, halacha. But the teachings are indeed there. I believe that there's a likelihood, I can't say for sure, that if there are those sages who are more militant and who express hatred towards the nations as such, is because the Talmud was written at the time of the 2nd or 3rd century of the Common Era, where the Jews were exiled, the temple was burned, Christianity was taking hold, and we were in a very bad place. And it is because of that bad place that the oral traditions, Mishnah and Talmud, had to be written down to begin with. They were meant to remain oral. They were meant to be transferred from father to son, mother to daughter, master to apprentice, rabbi to pupil, and so on and so forth. And then because of exile, destruction, and tragedy, the oral traditions had to be written down. And we went into this survival mode phase, right, which we are now coming out of in the last 100 or so years or more. But things that are written about the Goyim there and about the other nations, I think that they are tainted with the nature of the time. And they were written down. And so now, perhaps that would not be written down with such a, let's say, racist tone, or those opinions would not be accepted, but they were not made into halacha. So that's basically, if you view the Talmud simply as where halacha is derived, those things, you don't have a commandment to hate the Goyim, to hate the other, if there is like that other. You a nikar, says Fandy. I'm not sure what a nikar is. Nikal, I don't recall. Yuck, disgusting Jew, says Incognito. Yes, I am indeed. I am a disgusting, vile, nasty Jew. Yes. Let's continue. Oh boy, says Daneth Foot. Hey, Daneth Foot, how goes the other foot? Are you waiting for the other shoe to drop? Worship Jesus in human form, says Straw. Instead of what? Genuinely curious. Wait, are you talking to me or someone else? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Maintain your beard, Anders. You get to hell. Maintain your beard. No, I think I'll keep my beard the way it is, just growing wild and free, but I appreciate I appreciate the sentiment. Jews have no hell, but, again, I appreciate it nonetheless. Your Bible is a forgery, says End Monotheism. Okay, cool. Let's grant that. Let's say it is a forgery. Let's say it's 100% fairy tale, myth, lore, never happened, none of it. There is still wisdom to be gleaned from it. There is still things to understand from it that you can apply to your life. Most of the Bible is not what to do, it's what not to do. Most of the stories there and the rivers of blood that run through the Bible are there to teach us that peace is better than war and love is better than hate. Embracing each other in our shared humanity is better than bickering, fighting, and othering. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, the Jews do have their Hebrew Bible. It didn't have to be canonized. The only thing that we were commanded to write down as a people, right, let's say, was the 5 books of Moses, the scroll, the Torah scroll. The prophets and the writings and the scrolls that came later that make up the Hebrew Bible, the other 19 books, are all there to turn you back to Torah, are all there to instruct you and inform you and guide you to the path back to tshuva, to returning to the Torah, to the covenant, to the commandments of the Hebrew people. So even if we say that the Bible is a forgery, the stories that are told in there are archetypal in nature. The wisdom that is in there has an everlasting element in the sense of you can still glean wisdom from it, and understanding and guidance and light. And just like there are the benevolent and graceful and merciful and lovely sides of the Torah, and the Bible, there's also the horrible, the misandrist and the misogynist and the racist and the bigoted parts of the Bible as well. Which part are you going to follow? Both of them are there. We live in a world of good and evil. The Bible is a Bible of good and evil. What is it that you are going to follow? What will you be putting your emphasis on? Are you choosing to see hatred in the Bible or love? Are you choosing to see bigotry and racism or embracing each other? Do you see what I'm saying? Both of those things happen to exist in the world and in the Bible, written by people for people. What Jew is higher in rank, an Arab Jew from Tripoli, northern Lebanon, or a Persian Jew from Esfahan? Neither. They're both Jewish. They just come from different places. So there's no one that's better than the other. I don't understand this need to rank, but people do that a lot. A lot. They have this need to place themselves or others inside of a hierarchy, which is, of course, understandable. The insistence on it, even when I say, nope, we are all earthlings, we're all humans, we're all made in the image of God, why don't we start there, at a point of relative equality, right, and equality of opportunity? Why don't we start there? But people, for whatever reason, and no judgment, I'm not gatekeeping any ideas or views or concepts, I'm just saying that why not start with Eden? Why not start with plain humanity? Why not start with that place where, yes, I am a human being living in a world with other earthlings, and let's see how I go about bettering who I am and the people around me. Do you see? When you get caught up in image, when you get caught up in skin color, when you get caught up in ranking and in comparison is the thief of joy. So I have no idea what the difference is between those Jews. If you do, please tell me. Maybe you're a better man than I in that sense. In fact, definitely you are. Does that go for Palestinians? Of course, Palestinians are people. Now, the Palestinians have chosen a leadership, time and again, leadership that is warmongering, bloodthirsty, extremist, religious, vile, and oppressive. So the leadership needs to go. But I maintain, in the very same way that we are all equal, both sides of this conflict, Israel and those around Israel and those within Israel, they need to de-radicalize among themselves, right? How did Japan and Germany manage to integrate themselves back into the world after World War II? They were de-radicalized. How will we be able... Oh, whoops, I need to mute the phone. I won't. If it happens again, if it bleeps again, I'll mute it. How are we able to transcend the great chasm of differences, ideological, cultural, I don't know what, between us? We de-radicalize our camps, respective camps. That is one way to do it, at least that comes from within us, right? Of let's do something about that. No way you're blaming the Palestinians, absolute knob. I'm blaming the Palestinian leadership. There are many innocent Palestinians, men, women, and children who don't want this fight, who wouldn't want Hamas to be in power, and many of the Palestinians living nowadays are less than 18 years old, meaning that they were not there when Hamas was elected in 2006. However, they are brought up by the people who did elect Hamas democratically. They are brought up by the people who have been indoctrinated by Hamas's teachings, and they themselves are being indoctrinated in those teachings to hate the Yahud, to spill the blood of the Jew, to live to be a shaheed, a martyr, and to revel in death. Right? Hamas and their freedom fighter terrorist buddies and the Palestinian Authority as well, they are bloodthirsty terrorist regimes. They oppress their people, they steal their money, they invest in terrorism, and they support terrorism, and they teach the population to support terrorism, the very population which they later use as human shields and put in the front lines, the population in whose schools and homes and mosques and hospitals they place their munitions and and their different headquarters and their training facilities and whatnot, and the terror tunnels, which were not for use for civilians, God forbid. No, they were for the freedom fighter buddies. So it's not that I'm blaming the Palestinians. They were born into it. I'm blaming the leadership that they chose, the leadership they support, the leadership that governs them. That's why the same leadership that rejected every peace deal that's ever been put in front of it, right? That same leadership. The names might change and the suits might be a different color, but the idea is still the same. The Palestinian leadership throughout this entire conflict has refused to recognize Israel, has refused to work with Israel. The Oslo Accords was the last time I really felt, oh my God, peace is possible. That was many years ago, and it had turned to crap very quickly. Yasser Arafat, Abu Ammar, right? He did not do the world any favors. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. How asinine is that? So, I am an absolute knob. Let's not retract. No, I don't. That's cool. I am an absolute knob. I'm an idiot. I'm a dumbass. I'm stupid. I'm ignorant. I'm naive. I'm blind. I'm stiff-necked. All of those things apply to me for sure. But I also know my shit because I've lived here. I've been a civilian here. I've served in the army here. I've looked at history unfold throughout my life here. Granted, I'm not in politics or any high-ranking army official. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I'm not part of the Security Council or the Parliament or any cabinet. But I am, as a lowly civilian, I have my eyes and my ears open. And as such, I can tell you that even though I am an absolute knob, thick penguin, I am blaming the Palestinian leadership, not the Palestinians, and I am blaming the Palestinians who support the Palestinian leadership, the ones who cheered when Hamas brought wounded and dead hostages into Gaza. We've done so on a number of occasions. Let's continue. Your religious views are insane. This is reality. This is the world we have science. Yes, I think that science and religion and the Hebrew faith, anyway, can definitely coincide. It's not a question of insanity, right? It's not a question of insanity. It's a question of understanding that we have the physical laws of nature that govern this world, right? The laws of physics that govern this world. We have the different powers, things like gravity, things like electromagnetism, things like the weaker and stronger nuclear force. And we also have the creator of this system. So in the very same way that there is a system in place, right, the immutable laws of physics and nature and all that, I do believe there is a creator, unknowable, unfathomable, unthinkable, inconceivable creator, right, to me as a creation, who put this system in motion. And much like the black hole and the event horizon is where the laws of physics break down completely, in the natural world where the laws of physics govern irrefutable, right, and immutable, there is a place where the laws of physics go bye-bye and everything that we know goes right out the window. That is the event horizon. In the very same way, there is an event horizon in the life of each and every one of us where sanity, meaning all the rest of the universe, comes to a border of what is insanity, the event horizon of a black hole, where all of your preconceived notions go out the window. Everything upon which you have lived your life is now different because the normal laws that govern everything else do not apply in this specific instance. And so if you are willing to accept the fact that we have science, and you're willing to accept the fact that black holes exist, and you're willing to accept the hypothesis that as you come near a black hole and you approach that event horizon, the laws of physics as we know them and who govern everything that's happening with me, within me, without me right now, everything breaks down completely. Space and time are bent and warped completely. If you can accept that as a scientific fact or a valid hypothesis, then understand that by the same token, religion and spirituality serve as that black hole. Only instead of a place from where light cannot escape, it's the place where light is being brought into creation, right? It's that, and it all exists in parallel, right? All of these halls and chambers and spiritual worlds, we use physical words to convey spiritual meanings because we are physical people, we have language. However, it's the actual nature of the spiritual realms, it has no space and time in the very same way that a black hole has no space and time in the traditional way as we think of the continuum. You see what I'm saying? So if you're saying my religious views are insane, Passion Productions, what is it you produce, first of all? I'd like to know. Second of all, if you're saying it's the reality in this world that we live in and we have science, I agree. Even in this world, even with this scientifically backed truth, even with the scientific method as your guide, you still encounter things that are unexplainable and unknowable, such as black holes, and they warp your understanding, they break apart your conventions, they throw you into a pit, so to speak, right? That abyss that looks back at you like a black hole where you cannot explain it in ways that are You can't explain the very thing that breaks down the laws of physics with the laws of physics. Do you see what I'm saying? For a black hole, you need a new sort of paradigm. For a black hole, you need a new set of rules. For a black hole, you need a new set of understandings. And so when you approach religion, when you approach spirituality, you can call it insane. I do call it part of the natural world in the very same way that a black hole is part of the natural world. Do you see what I'm saying here? Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, God defies science, says Justin. Well, look, God has many revelations. Some revelations pertain to the natural world. That's the name Elohim. Some revelations pertain to the world that is higher. That's the name Ehyeh, or Yah, or Adonai, right, spelled Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, or Elohim spelled Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. There are many names and clothings and garments, if you will, in which God is clothed and with which he hides himself, right, so to speak. God does not take human form, according to the Torah. According to the Hebrew faith, there is no God in flesh. There is no God incarnate. Again, we use these words to convey deeper meanings. We use physical things like the eyes of God, the nose of God, right? The finger and hand of God, but God has none of these things, nor none of these attributes of grace or of vengeance or of anger or of mercy. But we use these to convey an idea, because we do actually have these things implicitly, right, inherently inside of us, being human beings with a body and a soul, if you do believe in such a thing, or a life force, an animating force, right, that chi that keeps you going, or ki. So you can say it defies science, and I say yes, certain things might defy science, and in other things, God goes completely right along with science, in the very same way that I'm a believer of evolution and of the Genesis account, and I do not see a contradiction between them. But okay. Why your people killed our Jesus, says Spider-Man. Well, Spider-Man, if you're any kind of superhero, you should know that sometimes shit goes down, and you can't do anything about it. Every superhero knows that. But Romans killed Jesus. I'm sure Jews maybe should or could have done something about it, but it was the Romans who killed Jesus. If the Sanhedrin, the Jews, killed Jesus, he would not have been crucified. So it was the Romans who killed him. Passion says, it is, brother, with your views that you had, it was kind of confusing. Well, okay. It's okay to be confused. I'm confused about many things, and many people in the chat say I'm perpetually confused, and that's all well and good. Again, they can think whatever they want. Out of chaos comes order, and out of confusion comes clarity. We have many ways to approach the things we do not understand. I try to approach things with an open mind, an open ear, an open heart. And I don't take many things as absolutes, as axioms. I do have a few. But on many things I am very open-minded, precisely because I know just how little I know. And I know how this world seems highly rigid. This table I'm knocking on right now, but it's all atoms coming together. It's all vibration. None of it is really actually solid. It's always in movement. It's the illusion of a solid table. The illusion, right, of a solid phone. The illusion, right? And you right now are seeing a digital projection of me in zeros and ones, and yet you're seeing it with great clarity. And there are certain things that you can understand about me, or assume about me, from this digital projections of pixels, of zeros and ones on your screen, even though you're not looking at me. I'm not looking at me either. I'm looking at the screen as well right now. And yet, we have a conversation going on here. So we see that even though things might seem one way on the outside, they can teach you things about the inside that transcend it. In other words, the table seems solid. If I go really into the microscopic elements and the subatomic elements and particles, they're always in movement, and it's only the illusion of something solid, right? Myself included. If you break things down to their constituents, they are, right? It's a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts, but the different parts in that sum can teach you a lot about that which is not solid, can teach you a lot about that which is part of the physical world that you cannot see. It challenges your perceptions. Okay. Hey, Umbra is here. Hey, Umbra. Always happy to see you. Please remember to take care of yourself. Thanks, I really appreciate it. Gila is also here. Good to see you again. I am at home too today, and your hair looks good. Can I visit Jerusalem, and is it safe? Jerusalem is always safe. What should I know before I visit? Check out, if you have never been here, don't take my word for it. I'm a Sabra, I'm a native. You need to check out people on, let's say, YouTube or other platforms who have like travel blogs or whatever, and they can tell you the outsider's perspective on Jerusalem. I won't be able to tell you something that would be of any use to you, I think. I really, really think that. Are you on amphetamines? Jeremy asks. No, I'm not on amphetamines. Fake ass, says SZI Korami. Hi, good to see you again, unless I saw you before and I'm thinking I saw you last night. Fake ass. No, my ass is 100% real. No, no fillers, no procedures, no operations of any kind. My ass is 100% natural ass. Nazarite, what a crock of shit, taking Jesus' homeland name. No, that's Nazareth, you fool. Nazareth. Sorry for calling you a fool. It is actually very foolish, but a very, very common misunderstanding. People say Nazarite and Nazarene and Nazareth are the same thing. So let's break those down very quickly. A Nazarite, Nazir or Nazira, male, female, respectively, is a man or woman of the Hebrew tribes who took on a vow of a Nazarite, the Nazariteship. Okay. A Nazarene is either somebody who dwells in Nazareth or comes from Nazareth, the town here in Israel, or they follow a certain sect of Christianity that are Nazarenes. I don't know their laws and their rules and how they differ, but there is such a sect or a group called Nazarenes. And there is Nazareth, which is a town in Israel. All right, now that we have all those three, let's read that again. Nazarite, what a crock of shit. First of all, yes, I am indeed a crock of shit. I'm a crack of shit. I'm a crick of shit. I'm a crook of shit. I'm a crike of shit. And I'm a kike of shit. Now, as for taking Jesus' homeland name, no. Nazareth has nothing to do with me. The Nazariteship, Nazir, Nazrat. Nazarite, Nazareth. Nazir, Nazrat. Very different words that sound the same in English. Many people Christians and people who don't speak Hebrew are very much confused. Was he a Nazarene? Was he a Nazarite? Was he... No. So Christians can think whatever they want, but the difference between those three terms is what I laid out just now. Okay. Hello world, says Arandom Morang Soul. Hi, hello. Hello to you. Hello to you. If I drew a picture of you, I would go to jail in some countries, says Tyler. Yes, many people said if I drew a picture of you, if I did a drawing of you, I would be indicted for anti-Semitism. Will you vote for Netanyahu in October? No, I haven't voted in 20 years, and I am going to vote just so I can vote him out of office. I don't know who I will vote for. I don't know the different parties. I don't know the platforms that they are putting forth, but I do know that I will be voting for someone else. We need new blood. We need new leadership. We need a new path to follow in the wake of all these horrible, horrible wars and conflicts. It needs to come to an end. So even though I have not voted in about 20 years because I consider politics to be a very dirty game, and I consider politics to be us voting for people, but those people are then being controlled by people whom we did not vote for, so it's kind of irrelevant and a moot. So people might call it me not performing my civic duty, but I see it as, no, it's the people who actually vote who have no right to complain. You're the ones who voted. I stayed outside of it for about 20 years, and I will be voting in the next election. I'm willing to get my hands dirty with the disgusting and dirty game of politics, because something needs to change in this country, and hopefully change for the good, for the better, for the welfare of us and those around us, for those who are Jewish, those who are Muslim, those who are Christian, those who are Baha'i, whatever and whoever, the people in Israel. God willing, it will be better. The prophet Samuel took a Nazarite vow. He didn't cut his hair. No, he did not. His mother Hannah put it on him, and then he simply upheld it. He himself did not take a Nazarite vow. He was born into it, according to some. Yes, and according to some, by the way, my family are descendants from him. I have no family tree to back it up all the way, but traditionally speaking, we do come from Samuel. Beraika gave 10. What's CHF? What is CHF? I don't know what that is. Oh, Swiss franc. Thanks, I appreciate it. All the money goes to charity. I am always very transparent about this. Go check out my previous posts on the charity and the way that I showed my analytics, I showed my bank account, and I showed the receipt for giving to charity. Anything that comes from the super chat, anything that comes from the super thanks or from your ad watching goes to charity. Should some brand deal come my way, I'll be making a tithe from that and keeping the rest. But everything that has to do inherently with the channel through YouTube, the supers and the AdSense, it all goes to charity. I don't know you, but I hope you have a good night and day. Thank you, Bagel. Hey, Bagel. Or Bagel. Thank you, most appreciated. Thank you for donating. Please voice your opinion on what charity next we should give to. You're related traditionally, yes, because my family name, which is only around a few hundred years, the people who were later called that are traditionally from a certain family clan of a certain tribe, and Samuel traditionally is from that very clan, from the very same tribe. So related traditionally, but I'm not sort of boasting and saying, oh yes, I'm related to the group, because it means absolutely nothing in the sense of, yes, those might have been my ancestors spoken of in the Bible, but regardless of anybody who's spoken of in the Bible, here I am now, living, breathing, walking, talking, making an attempt, regardless of people who lived before me and whoever is mentioned in the Bible. So I do take it with a grain of salt and a grain of hummus, let's say. I don't base any of my ways, on of the Nazariteship or of the Levitical, priesthood, if you will, on the idea that I am descendant from Samuel in any way. No, if it so happens, all right, cool, I could take it or leave it. That's what I mean by related traditionally. Why are Jews such self-sabotaging? A very good question. I can't answer because I don't represent all the Jews. But I think that I know, I don't even know why I am self-sabotaging myself, which I do sometimes. So far be it from me to say why an entire population or nation is doing it globally. But it seems that we are always sort of reenacting Eden, where just a moment before Shabbat came in Eden, we were cast out. If we just would have waited, if we just would have been patient, if we just would have let nature run its course, instead of us being greedy and looking at the tree and seeing the fruit and understanding that understanding comes from it, it could have been very different. However, we seem to be doomed in some ways to reenact the story of Eden, where we always manage to self-sabotage. However, much in the same way that we are now working our way through this world on our way back to Eden, I believe there will come a time where the self-sabotage will run its course. We will reach a greater understanding, whether it's through love, whether it's through suffering, whether it's through understanding, whether it's through a prophet or an anointed one showing up somehow, a divine and indisputable, unequivocal divine message. I don't know how it will go down. I don't. But I know that we will reach a point where we will stop self-sabotaging and we will be able to express that image of God in which we are created as Jews, as human beings by and large, together. God willing, right? To be able to manifest and bring to completion, to the degree that we can, the task that we were set, the mission that we were given, right? The job that we are told to do. So that's what I'm saying. There is no your truth, says Berazlol NRA. Or my truth, there is only the truth. You were given a brain to recognize the singular path of Islam. To ignore this is a fatal error. The rest are walking blindly toward hell. So first, Jews don't have a hell. Second, I'll only come near Islam when there is peace here. Otherwise, my views of it will be tainted by the war and bloodshed and terrorism that's going on here. Third, yes, there is objective truth, but we live in a subjective world. We live in a world of subjectivity, right? We live in a world of subjectivity. We all have the lens through which we view reality. We all have the values and the norms by which we conduct ourselves. So you can claim that there is only one truth and it's Islam. Now, Islam literally means submission. So regardless of the faith, let's take just the word as such at face value. Yes, I agree. We are here to submit. We are here to submit. We are here to be who we truly are. We are here to align ourselves with our higher self, to submit to the calling of the higher self, and in doing that, to submit to the general will of the Creator as it is revealed and expressed in the world and through us, made in the image of God, humanity. The singular path of Islam. You might think it's a singular path. I think there are different paths, like branches that branch out from a root. I think that they can lead back to that same root. So you might call it Islam, and I might call it, the Hebrew faith, and people might call it Christianity, or whatever. I believe that we all, despite our differences, do have a shared root in the seeking and in the curiosity and in the intent of wanting to facilitate relationship right? And fellowship between creation and creator, between this world and the other world, and bring those, let's say, Edenic elements of oneness, of unity, of life into this world, and bringing heaven down to earth, as it were, right? Making this place paradise, if you will. So, you can say that there's only a singular path and the rest are walking blindly. I'll definitely agree. I'm blind to a lot of things, ignorant to a lot of things, sometimes very staunchly and willfully so. But I think that in my pursuit of the Hebrew faith with more Edenic elements within it and within my life, even if I don't practice Islam, I am able to reach that root in a different way. Now maybe, who knows, maybe this route will lead me to Islam, though I doubt it. I am very much a fan and and a supporter, if you will, to as a non-believer, to of the five pillars. The five pillars of Islam have a lot. There's a lot of wisdom in those five pillars of Islam. Regardless of terrorism and war and bloodshed and conquest and forced conversion and non-forced conversion, what is truth and what isn't truth, those five pillars of Islam, they make some sense as a way of facilitating and acting out that submission, right? How do you act? How do you comport yourself in the world with yourself and with those around you? How is it that you speak? What is it that you do? Those five pillars can be a great guide, definitely. Jews have no hell. Is that we are so sinful? Most Jews are Chiloni after all. Chiloni meaning secular. So yes, Jews have no hell in the sense of eternal damnation and lake of fire. We do have something approximating purgatory called Gehinnom. It's not mentioned in the Torah. But there is that idea of a place of purgation, of cleansing, of purification. But heaven and hell, as concepts, right, are waiting rooms. We have no eternal heaven, nor do we have an eternal hell. We have that waiting room, right, of purgatory-ish, Gehinnom, and we have the lower Eden and the higher Eden, as they are known, and there are differences between them, but I won't get into that right now. And they are both waiting rooms, right, for humanity phase 2. We still have a mission to accomplish. We need to partake of the fruit of the tree of life. That is where we are headed. That is where we are headed, God willing, back to Eden. It's been just over an hour. I'm going to keep going for a little bit, but I want to say thank you to all of you watching now, watching later. I deeply appreciate your time and your kind attention, your encouragement and your hate and your spam and your trolling behavior and the discourse that is actually very mind and thought provoking. I definitely appreciate every like and every sub and every view. The time that you give me is something that you can never get back, and I really don't take it for granted that you are here with me live right now, broadcasting from Jerusalem. You could be doing anything else right now, but you are here with me and with this cup of coffee, and I deeply appreciate it. Those who are watching later, likewise, you may not be live for whatever reason, and that's all good, but you watching here now, wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you are watching this, deeply appreciated. I don't take it for granted that I press go live, and there's a conversation happening here, and there's a back and forth happening here, and there's a lot to learn, and you educate me, you strengthen me, you nourish me, you give me sustenance. And I was at work and I took a break and I clocked out, and now I get to do this, and it's so amazing, and I'm so grateful and so honored, and I cherish this digital connection that we have here. And I think that it is a good thing, despite all of the toxicity in the chat. There is some good conversation that goes on here, and in the comments there is some great back and forth that this channel facilitates, and there are many other channels doing the same thing, but I'm simply happy to be here in my little corner of the internet, and I definitely think it's a wondrous thing. Okay, let's continue. Scrolling down in the chat. Give us reparations back to America, says John Lear. What do you mean reparations? Most of the money that Israel receives in aid goes back to the states. Most of the money that they give to other countries does not go back to the states. If you're going to come at Israel and say that we're stealing American taxpayer money, first also do your due diligence and look at the other areas in the Middle East, the other countries and nations in the Middle East regularly receiving U.S. aid money, and then do the side-by-side on how much of it goes back to America. I'm fairly certain that Israel gives between 70 and 80% of that money back to American industry, to American, right, back in the system, back in the economic American system. The other 20% or 30%, I'm not sure where it goes. I'm not in the Knesset. I don't make these decisions. I'm not on those boards or cabinets, so I have no idea. But I do know that Israel has an interest in the U.S. The U.S. has an interest and interests in Israel here in the Middle East. The allyship that we have is something that can't be broken easily. If you want the U.S. to stop giving money to Israel, fair enough. Go to your higher-ups, go to your statesmen, go to your leaders, go to your congressmen, go to your senators and tell them, stop. Stop doing this. America first. Unequivocally so. And I would say, yes, you're right. Obviously, America first. Obviously. Fix your society, fix the homelessness problem, fix the drug and opioid epidemic. You have some major issues going on in the States. Fix the divide between the people. The Dems and the Republicans, they're at each other's throats all the time. They have forgotten, it seems, to some degree. They seem to have forgotten that discourse and the tension between the parties, the tension between the facets is what yields that American way. That idea of keeping lines of communication open, and those communication lines have been severed, or so it seems to somebody on the outside, where it's divided so strictly, it seems. People, lose family, people lose friends, people lose jobs, people go crazy, going no contact with all kinds of folks because of their political inclination. And not everybody is a zealot, not everybody is an extremist. They happen to believe other things or put other values at the top of the pyramid. It's like, can't we still talk to each other? Isn't there still common ground? Can we not bridge these gaps of understanding? A super chat came in. Podis says, how does modern Judaism view Jesus? Was he just a heretic, or did he fulfill some prophetic purpose? So modern Judaism, just like mainstream old school Judaism, sees Jesus, depending on who you go with, right? I personally think that he was a righteous person, a potential sage and prophet and king and whatnot, but that he died and he's a dead man. That's it, no more, no less. Modern Judaism, that depends. Do you mean Orthodox? Do you mean conservative? Do you mean Neo-Hasidic? Do you mean Reconstructionist or Reform? You can't just say modern Judaism. But if we're going with the mainstream halachic rabbinic Judaism, Jesus is seen as somebody who was a student and a sage at the time of the Second Temple, and then he went astray. How he did that is not clear. There are different opinions on what he did, but he basically went astray and cut himself off, let's say, of the root, cut himself out, cut the branch, his own branch out of the tree of the Hebrew people. Did he fulfill some prophetic purpose? I don't think he is seen by and large by modern Judaism, at least Orthodox Jews, as somebody who fulfilled any kind of prophetic purpose other than the prophets who said, hey, if you do wrong, bad things will come to you. He is the actual example of this because he was somebody who was very righteous and horrible things came to him. He was a person who was preaching good, who was talking in parables to the people, trying to get them to understand that life is suffering, but there is a way to transcend it. And you were given this life in order to love your God and love your fellow neighbor. He performed miracles, right? And he spoke to the people on their own level. And that is an amazing and genuine way to be in the world. And the fact that he was, tortured and crucified and betrayed and all that by the Jews and the Romans alike, whether they had one hand in doing it or not, you could argue. But in that way, he was fulfilling a prophetic purpose, and many others who were crucified, many thousands of people who were crucified all around Jerusalem during that time, also fulfilled the prophecy of woe and destruction, which said, hey, if you turn away from the covenant, bad things will come to you. Enemies will be at your gates. You'll be cast out of the land. That's, the temple will be destroyed, so to speak. And actually was destroyed in the year 70 of the Common Era by Rome. And so we see that certain prophetic purposes were indeed coming to pass in the form of Jesus and those people who were around at the time. If you mean some sort of final Messiah from the house of David of the tribe of Judah, no, that is not what Jesus is seen like at all in the modern day Jewish view. And many people, some Jews, shorten Yeshua, which is his Hebrew and Aramaic name, to Yeshu, being an acronym of Yimach Shmo V'Zichro, may his name and memory be eradicated. Again, I think that he lived and died a righteous Hebrew man. That's it. He is a dead man. We can walk in his footsteps, a lot to learn from the wisdom that he gave to the world, but not faith. And the Christians and the first churches who came after him, those who viewed him as a living God, instead of simply an example and a paragon, right, of something that we might follow, that's where it breaks down with modern-day Judaism more than anything else. And there are people in the Talmud who claim that he is burning in a pit of excrement, of boiling excrement, and I don't go with those views at all. There are people who say that he was a heretic. I don't go with those views at all. But that's just me, and I don't represent modern-day Judaism, but just myself. By and large, Orthodox Jews don't consider Jesus to be a good character, whether it's because Jesus himself was wrong in their opinion, or whether it's the fact that later Christianity was spawned by followers of Jesus who were the first Christians. Frank Renda says, do you perform it tzibah? No, I'm not a mohel, so I don't perform it. My kids who were circumcised, just right here, who were circumcised right here in this very home, they had the metzitzah, but not with the lips on the mouth, but with a single-use surgical apparatus, like a kind of straw thing, right? You suck out some of the blood, you spit it out, and so yes, it was performed on them, though not with skin-to-skin contact. I believe there's too much of a hygienic danger, too much of a medical danger there, because you don't always know what goes on in your saliva and the blood, and I'd rather avoid that, which is why it's done by the moel that we have hired to circumcise our kids. It was with a single-use apparatus. Eric says, thoughts of what Israel is doing currently in Lebanon, taking over South Lebanon and claiming they won't leave and will control it going forward, claiming the majority of Lebanese oil reserves. Well, first of all, that's above my pay grade. I don't know what Tzahal is doing there and what Tzahal IDF is not doing there. We left Lebanon in the year 2000. Oh my God, what we did over there. There was a long-standing presence in southern Lebanon. Many people died, and then Israel pulled out of southern Lebanon. Now, Hezbollah took over, surprise, surprise, but I think eventually and ultimately what Israel wants is peace with Lebanon and a secure border. It's up to the Lebanese army, it's up to the Lebanese government, the Lebanese leadership, the Lebanese people to root out Hezbollah from their midst. Lebanon used to be majority Christian, and now it's majority Muslim, and the Hezbollah are Shiite Muslims, very much in tune, in the same, whistling the same tune as Iran, as the Islamic Republic of Iran. So I don't know what they're taking over or not taking over. I know that if we do need to take over temporarily or permanently certain strongholds or areas to secure strategic, right, to have security and strategic peace in the region so we will not be threatened by Hezbollah, right? I'm thinking that at the time when peace will be made with Lebanon properly on paper, and that we'll have actual peace like we do with Jordan and with Egypt, even though it's a cold and tenuous peace, it is peace nonetheless. I'm hoping that that same peace will arrive between Israel and all of the world. But let's start with those around us first and the people with the Abraham Accords, right? Let's get more people, more nations, more leaders on with the Abraham Accords. It is a good path forward. Kabbalistic evil, says KN Con the Road. Yes, there is this idea of non-kosher Kabbalah, which is evil. Kosher Kabbalah is not evil in my experience. I'm not a Kabbalist. I'm a student of the Tree of Life. So if you think that Kabbalistic evil, if you're just saying that, I am not a Kabbalist, and I'm trying not to be evil. I do evil things. I try not to be. I try to do more good than bad. I try to do more right than wrong. I try to be more benevolent and less malevolent. But some people are evil, and some people study Kabbalah and they are evil. Some evil people have good masters, as Lao Tzu says in the Tao Te Ching. Okay. How could you repay hospitality with violence, says One Love? Well, while there were people who opened up their doors, individuals and families to Jews in the early and mid-20th century, the hospitality was not extended by the leadership. The leadership here was always anti-Jewish. The leadership here was always anti-Israeli, or what later became Israeli, and anti-Zionist. And so hospitality was repaid with violence because the leaders and the Arab armies attacked Israel after it established itself. Israel accepted, right, the Jews, that is, accepted the two-state solution. The Arab Muslims did not. The leaders attacked, and they lost. And in the course of this war, different things happened. And one of them is that Israel took over, like any other country has ever done when they won a war. Other places were left willingly by those who ran away, those who were told to leave. Now, yes, there was some displacement. There were some massacres. I'm not disputing that. You can argue over the numbers and how it went down. But definitely certain things went down that were not kosher. But Israel was fighting a defensive war. Israel continuously is fighting this defensive war. So the hospitality that was extended was indeed by people for people, but the regime, the leadership, the religious leaders in particular, they were not lovers of Jews, and they were not hospitable towards Jews. There were many, many massacres and uprisings and riots way before the state of Israel was even a thing. So read some history, you are mistaken. In the cases that hospitality was indeed met with violence, I believe that person to person, it was something that is horrible. But country to country, let's say leader to leader, it was something that had to go down because we were invaded and fighting a defensive war. And some of the people who were killed violently, let's say, in the course of that war, were people who had previously opened up their homes to refugee Jews. In the very same way that in October 7th, the people who were driving Palestinians to get medical treatment in Israel that they could not afford or have in Palestine or Gaza, they were the ones that Hamas, targeted with no qualms whatsoever. So much for coexistence, huh? It's such a shame. Anonymous says, I appreciate your rational viewpoints. I have my moments. Maybe sometimes I'm irrational as well. I think you can make a video on how to not get taken over by hate, religious or otherwise. I believe that world peace begins with inner peace. Peace and love, says Anonymous. Yes, right? Look within yourself. Know thyself is a great commandment because it forces you to contend with your hateful sides and your loving sides, with your peaceful sides and your war-mongering sides, right? You have good and evil, benevolence and malevolence inside of you. To contend with that and to make more peace with yourself is to learn how to also do it around you. Another thing that Lao Tzu says in the Tao Te Ching as well. Why would Israel want that crappy land, LOL? So, Judge Holden, I'm not sure what you mean, but incidentally, when Israel made the peace agreements with Egypt, we offered them Gaza. Egypt said, no, that's okay, you keep that we don't want that. Also, when Egypt was in charge of Gaza for nearly 20 years, they didn't establish a Palestinian state. When Jordan was in charge of the West Bank of the Jordan, Judea and Samaria, they did not establish a Palestinian state. So, it's not just us, it's people who keep their borders. The Palestinians and the Jordanians, right, and the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan have been at odds for many years. Black September was a thing. They tried to stage a coup. It's like, no, even the neighboring Arab countries don't really want the Palestinians. And they have shown that. It's not a question of good or bad, of they're not worthy. It's simply the case. Even the ones around us do not want those who call themselves Palestinians. And that's kind of a shame because they are supposedly supposed to be brothers and sisters, rallying around that same cause. And yet when it gets to, well, why don't you take them in then? Oh, no, we're not going to do that. Let them stay over there. Why don't you take over and establish a Palestinian state in Gaza? No, that's okay. You keep it. It's all good. So it's kind of a double standard in some ways. So demonic, says 25 Lighters 91. Really? What am I saying that is demonic? I'm stating history, proven, documented history. I'm not turning a blind eye to Israel's wrongdoings. I'm not turning a blind eye to the Israeli terrorists, right? Irgun Etzel Lechi Hagana, which operated before the IDF was established and the State of Israel was established. I'm willing to accept the narratives, different elements from different narratives. I don't go blindly with one Jewish Zionist Israeli narrative and I dispose of all the others. No, I try to have my mind work in a synthesis, and I'm constantly reviewing and resynthesizing my viewpoint because the lens through which I'm viewing the world becomes that much clearer. Ideally, that is. Maybe sometimes it becomes darker, but it's always in flux. There's always more to know, and there's more of what I don't know than what I do know. So to call me demonic is crap. Prove how I'm demonic. Please, prove it. I'd love to know. Stop being evil, guys. You, Yeshua, say it's too late. Before it's too late. Yeah, right? Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Right? We need real justice for Israel. We need real justice for the Gazans. We need real justice for those who are in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank of the Jordan. We need real justice all over the world, and that can bring about real peace, long-lasting peace. Definitely with justice. Okay. Umbra says, always happy to see you. Please remember to take care of yourself. May you always shine and be good. God willing, I hope to live my life in such a way. I'm very much failing at that. Let's make that very, very clear. Let's have no two ways about that. I am a sinner. I'm a transgressor. There are times when I, am so angry and negative, but I'm trying to be less and less that. You are quoting Chinese philosophy. Are you interested in Eastern esoteric thought? So I'm a fan of Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching. I enjoy the noble truths of Buddhism. I've looked into some of the Eastern thought, and I have found it to be very thought-provoking, right? Zen as well, and the teachings of Buddha. The part where it starts to teach you doctrine of faith, belief in deities, that's where I draw the line. But wisdom and knowledge and understanding is definitely something that I can draw from these ancient and deep wells of Eastern philosophy and the different texts, right? Whether it's the Tao Te Ching or the Hindu Vedas, I can see a lot of wisdom there and incorporate elements of those into my life, and see many similarities, by the way, and parallels between certain views of the Torah and the Nazarite in connection with the Tao Te Ching or the Vedas, for instance, and I Ching as well to some degree. Less. I'm more of a Tao Te Ching person because I've read the I Ching less. America's support, says Mike, for Israel is finished. Trump is your last supporter. Fight on your own. Very well. Let's see how that plays out. If you're saying Trump is your last supporter, he will be voted out. Well, not voted out. He'll finish, unless he's impeached, but he'll finish his second term, and that's it. And no American president will ever stand with Israel ever again, Democratic or Republican or from the Green Party, whatever it is, whoever sits on the throne of the presidency, whoever uses that seal will no longer be a supporter of Israel. Israel will be getting no aid money, nothing. We won't be sharing intelligence, we won't be sharing industry, we won't be training together, nothing. A complete and direct no contact from the United States. Let's see what happens. Let's see how that goes down. I would be curious to see what would happen then and there. But we're going to see. If, according to you, we're going to see it very soon. So we'll have to see. Mike says, you and I are on the same page, Jewish but not modern Zionist. Well, I do consider myself a modern Zionist and a biblical Zionist. I simply choose to not excuse heinous things that are going on in the name of Zionism, right? Vile people do vile things in the name of Zionism, and that's wrong. People commit crimes in the name of Zionism, and that is wrong. People say that Zionism gives them the right to rule, or I don't know what crap people say. I don't agree with that. Zionism is simply, a Hebrew home for the Hebrew people, with those who lived here before, as far as I'm concerned. Going back to Torah, that is the root of Zionism. Going back to the commandments and the covenants that we cleave to, that is the root of biblical Zionism. And you can make the argument that the modern day mid-19th century secular socialist Zionism that rejects that religious crap and simply goes with the historical truth and fact of a presence of Jews being here in this land continuously, the land of our fathers and our mothers and our ancestors, so let's go back to it. However you try to break it down, there is something to be said. I think that modern Zionism, in some ways, because it has such a strong religious underpinning that it is rejecting, because it has such a strong spiritual element which it is not recognizing, or which some modern-day Zionists do not recognize, that's what caused to have this movement that is called post-Zionut, post-Zionism, where it's like, okay, we ran the experiment, we were here for 78 years so far, what do we have to show for it? Do we have peace with our neighbors, right? We have many things going on, sure, and we do give help, and we do have a lot of people in industry and so on, and in art and medicine and whatnot. But what is it that Zionism as such has achieved? These are the questions that post-Zionism asks, and it says we must go past the Zionism and have a new paradigm. We must have a paradigm shift. I don't know if that thing can really stand. Because we need that spiritual element to glue us together. We need those stories and those traditions, not the bigoted, racist, and hateful things. No. The things which I choose to view as coming together, right? Coming together, not in an othering sort of way, not in a way that causes pride or vanity to rear its head, nor hypocrisy or duplicity. A very simple and straightforward way where we approach the Torah from, not you're real and you're fake, you're not, you're this and you're that. No, just from on an individual, very solipsistic sort of way of saying, okay, here I am, I have these stories, I have these traditions, now what? Right? Now what? Oh, let's continue. Shed Hiran says, the Torah is just the truth explained by the Jews, like the Tao is the truth explained by the Chinese. God is within you, we are all one, love is the key to the kingdom. Yes, I'm inclined to agree. It's different ways of getting to the same place. Much like the analogy of the four people with blindfolds who are feeling an elephant, and they each say the elephant is something else when they are all, in fact, speaking of the same creature. The current Israeli government, says Mike, doesn't align with traditional Zionism. I mean, it aligns with it in the sense of not with the biblical Zionism too much, with the modern day Zionism, which says this is our home, it's always been our home for thousands of years. Now, again, there are people who are doing horrible things in the name of Zionism, and those actions I condemn, and those people I condemn. They should not be doing that. People who do horrible, horrible things, psychopathic people who do things on an individual level that I think are reprehensible and really they should not be doing it in the name of Zionism, but they are. Passion says, we do not live in a religious world and our F country is just F. Not sure what you mean. We live in a religious world because there is a religious instinct. There is an instinct, a human instinct towards religion. There is a human curiosity towards spirituality that is pretty native to the human being, right? To the Homo sapien. I'm thinking that you can suppress it and you can be indoctrinated out of it, I suppose, by secular thinking. But I'm pretty sure that if left to his or her own devices, merely by looking at nature, looking up at the night sky, looking at the macro and the micro of creation, it can cause you to become curious about where you fit into it and to seek understanding and knowledge that is outside of you to facilitate that curiosity, right? Curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction brought it back. I believe the satisfactory answers are in that higher being, are in that higher self that you can become, should become, could become. And the way to do that, many times, is a religious and spiritual path. So if you're saying that we don't live in a religious world, maybe actually people are considering themselves less religious and more secular, less believers and more non-believers. But human beings as biological functioning, creatures in this world, earthlings who live in this world, I believe there is the instinct to religion. There is the instinct to spirituality. There is that seeking spirit, that element of curiosity that cannot be denied. Or you can deny it, perhaps. I just see it as a constant human thing. Why do you deny the fact that Israel committed a genocide in Gaza? Hamza says, because they didn't, because the population of Gaza has been growing, because there was no such intent or the war would be over in 2 or 3 days, and because we are fighting a defensive war against a terrorist, warmongering, bloodthirsty regime that wants to slaughter each and every one of us. We disengaged from Gaza in 2005. Hamas was democratically elected in 2006, and they have stayed in power ever since. They rule there with an iron fist. They kill their opposers, right? So, I deny committing a genocide because even though you might say that individual people have committed crimes against humanity and crimes of war, okay, they should be brought to justice. Sure. But Israel as a country, the military doctrines as such, are not, let's annihilate all of the Palestinians. If that were true, why didn't we do it the entire time that Gaza was under Israeli rule? Why would we pull out of Gaza? Why? Why would we wait and wait and wait and wait and only then in the invasion go to this war that we've been a part of now? So, I don't think that that's true, that there is a genocide going on. The word genocide in and of itself was made to talk about the Jews in World War II, just like death camps. So that's why I deny it. I don't deny that innocent people are dying in Gaza, and that's a horrible tragedy. They should not be dying. Talk to your Hamas freedom fighter buddies. Maybe they won't put them in the line of fire. Maybe they will actually invest in infrastructure for the civilians instead of stealing their money. Maybe they'll build a bomb shelter or two instead of terror tunnels. Maybe they'll spend time on raising the quality of life of their subjects, instead of investing the money in terrorism and in war and bloodshed and becoming martyrs. It is a disgusting death cult that revels in death and that wants to see the world washed in the blood of the Yahud and of the heretics and the non-believers. That's what they want. That's all they want. That is why. You just look as stupid as you sound, says Nick. Really? Tell me how I'm wrong. By all means, push back against me, challenge me, fact check me, show me how I'm wrong. Really, show me. And I'll say, oh, you know what? You're right. I was wrong about this, that, or the other. As for looking stupid, I definitely sound stupid, no doubt. I definitely look stupid, again, no doubt. On those two things we are agreed. Sounding stupid and looking stupid does not negate what I'm saying as being verifiable fact, historical truth. So, if I am wrong on certain things, possibly, hit me up in the comments or in the DMs and let me know how I'm wrong. But if you look at history, even the recent history of this war, Israel waited for several weeks before it launched its counterattack against Hamas. Why is that? If we wanted to genocide all the Palestinians, stands to reason that we would probably simply bring the air fighters in, right? Bring the pilots in and carpet bomb Gaza. That's it. Kill them all. Turn it into a parking lot. It will be a piece of glass in 2 days. And that's it. And 10 days later, the world will forget. They'll scream, oh, those Zionists, oh, something else happened? Cool. And they'll forget in about a week and a half, like they do with so many things. That's not the way it went down. Also, if you're saying that the Israelis are genociding the Palestinians, why is it that we have offered the Palestinian leadership over 10 different peace agreements along the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years, almost? Why is it that we said yes to the partition plan of 1947 by the UN, and the Arab Muslims didn't say it? We were willing to live there side by side, and they are not. Everything that has happened in history contradicts what you're saying about genocide. Are there individual people that are genocidal maniac psychopaths? Obviously. Are there certain doctrines in the IDF that should be taken out? I haven't been in the IDF for some years, but I would venture to say, yes, that's probably the case. Are there individual people who have committed war crimes or crimes against humanity or I don't know what? Maybe. Let's see. Let them be brought to justice and the truth will out. But to simply claim genocide with no numbers to back it up, with the lowest non-combatant to combatant ratio of urban warfare the world has ever known, with all of the humanitarian aid that Israel itself had let pass, with all the humanitarian aid that Israel had provided, with all of the precautions that Israel took in order to avoid civilian casualties, where Hamas just puts them in the line of fire and doesn't give a shit, what you're saying about genocide makes zero sense. And all of the UN, the different humanitarian organizations, and the International Court of Justice, I'm saying, not playing the victim card here, I'm just saying, if you look at the different resolutions of the UN, if you look at the different agreements and accords or whatever decrees that these humanitarian organizations that they release, if you look at the things that the International Court of Justice has done, and you take it in the context of all of creation on this world, all of the nations, all of the countries, and Israel, you will see a clear anti-Israel, anti-Jewish bias. So that's why I say that what they say does not count. Are there individual elements and genocidal people? Yes, they should be brought to justice. That is wrong. But Israel is genociding Palestinians is false. Statistically, intent, it's simply false. Guys, it's known by the whole world it's genocide. Really? This whole world? The whole world thinks it's genocide. I don't think so. I disagree. Tell me, MM, if we are genociding them and we want to genocide them, why didn't we, a day after October 7th, why didn't we simply send our aircrafts there to carpet bomb the crap out of Gaza and not give a crap about civilians whatsoever? Why did we send in troops? Why did we send in tanks and infantry and armored personnel carriers? Why not just artillery and aircraft? That wouldn't do the job a lot better, and we would continuously keep doing it until those rats, as they say, came out of their, as you call us, right, came out of their bunkers and their terror tunnels, and that's it, and we would have complete surrender. But we're not doing that, nor have we done that. In fact, we have offered peace. There was a very generous offer put on the table many, many times, including Gaza and the West Bank and parts of East Jerusalem as the capital of a new Palestinian state, and the Palestinian leadership said no, because they are not interested in peace. They are interested in perpetuating the poverty-stricken refugee status of their people, all the while getting fat and rich and lining their pockets and their bank accounts with money. So, there you go. Dirty rat is a good way of describing you, says Cinnabon. Yes, I've been called a rat many times. I don't mind. I'm a pretty good rat. Yeah. It's like roaches, you have to deal with about 3 waves, says Justin. Yes, I've been likened to a roach as well. I'm all fine with that. We're all earthlings. Speak on the law that your country passed that allows execution of Palestinian terrorism, says Mr. Buddy Smooth. I've spoken of it in the past. I won't speak of it right now. I'll just say that it's a problematic law. I haven't looked into the details, and we'll have to see it on a case-by-case basis. There are definitely terrorists who are deserving of death, no matter how many quotes you put around the word terrorism. That's simply what they are. I'm willing to acknowledge that there are Israeli terrorists. You are not able to acknowledge that there is actual militant Islamic extremist terrorist groups who are governing their people and attacking Israel, even after Israel disengaged from Gaza. See, this is just it. You cannot see past your own narrative. So between the both of us right now, at least in this case, you are the one who is blind. I am willing to incorporate certain elements of foreign narratives, if you will, into the way that I view the world. You have just shown you cannot do that by putting terrorists in quotes. Execution goes against your faith, fool. No, you are actually mistaken. There were 4 ways in which people used to be executed by the Sanhedrin. It happened very, very seldom. People weren't executed every few days. It's been said in the oral traditions that a Sanhedrin that put a person to death once every 7, or some say 70 years would be considered lethal. The Sanhedrin always did everything they could to the best of their ability to get people who were being charged with a crime that would put them to death off the hook, to find, a way of the witnesses and the warning not being properly implemented, and whatever the case may be, to find a way to not kill them. So, it's not against my faith to execute people who are deserving of death. The Torah says that the blood of those who are murdered will not be atoned for except for in the blood of the murderer. Now, we don't have courts, we don't have a Sanhedrin, we don't have a monarchy, we don't have a temple, so those laws cannot be practiced de facto in reality right now as they are laid out in the Torah. However, it does not go against the faith at all to put people deserving of death to death. That shows just how ignorant you are, claiming with such certainty that it goes against my faith. No. Now, I obviously would rather have love than hate, peace than war, life than death. That is something that the Torah also agrees with. But the Torah also says, no, this is a life of good and evil, a world of good and evil. Some people need to be put to death. Do great caution, be very sure, have a lot of discernment before you put someone to death. That's where the oral law comes into the picture. But for you to claim execution goes against your faith, fool, yes, I am a fool, I am ignorant, I am stupid, I'm a rat, I'm a roach, I'm a duck, whatever the fuck. However, I also know my shit. So it does not go against the faith. Wrong. I'm a Kohen, can't be in a room with a dead body, says Mike. Yes, indeed, many Kohanim who practice, right, that the Hakami Tumat Met and Tahara, right, the purity, the ritual purity, ritual cleanliness, cannot approach and be in the proximity or in the same building as a dead body. And maybe there are certain allowances, but that's beside the point. And a Nazarite who is a Samson Nazarite, and that's what I am, can be next to dead bodies, and there's no Tumat Met. 777 says, let's assume you are correct. I have 2 questions. Where are you getting your data from? Can you prove hard, reliable resources rather than anecdotal evidence? How do you justify Israeli expansion? So first of all, insofar as expansion, some expansion is illegal, which is only retroactively made legal, and I'm against that. I think that if you're going to pass laws after the fact in order to make it legal, that's not a kosher way to go about it. That's about expansion. Second of all, anecdotal evidence, any hard, reliable resources that I can bring will be disputed by others who claim that there are hard, reliable resources. But you know what? Oh, well, okay. You know what? Let's check this out right now. Let's see. Has the Palestinian population grown in the past 78 years? Oh, and percentages. And what percentages? The Palestinian population in the occupied territories, West Bank and Gaza, has grown from roughly 0.9 million in 1951 to over 5.5 million by mid-2005. So in 74 years, give or take, from 0.9 million to 5.5 million, over a 500% increase. Worldwide, the Palestinian population has increased by tenfold since 1948. Growth is driven by high fertility rates, resulting in a young demographic with significant surges in the late 20th century. And the late 20th century is when all of this supposed genocidal thing has been going on. So even just plain AI that I did not manipulate, and I'm reading it right there from Google, it doesn't give it absolute credence, right? It doesn't give it an absolute right. AI can be manipulated. AI is a manipulating thing. But if you do go with Google just as a surface level, what about this? Here's this. That's what I'm saying. Congrats, you defend execution. Yes, I do. People should be put to death. Not everybody should be put to death. I don't want to put people to death. What about people who are deserving of death? I'm not saying that I could be the judge. I'm not saying that the panel of judges of the High Court could be the judges. I'm not saying that the Knesset or the government or the cops or the army could be the judge. I'm saying, actually, fundamentally speaking, I am defending execution. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. There's only one person who was executed in the state of Israel, and that's Adolf Eichmann. That's it. Although there have been hundreds and thousands of people likely deserving of the same fate, but they were not done like that. So you can say, congrats, you defend execution, as if it's something bad, but I see it as you being foolish and naive if you think that there are people in this world who are not deserving of death. It's exceedingly naive. The median age of Gaza resident is 18 years old. Why do you think the life expectancy is so young? It's not that the life expectancy is young, and if it is, that's on Hamas's fault, because they are the ones who are ruling there, and they are not giving enough attention to infrastructure and the civilian ongoings. They are not acting in such a way that raises the quality of life. They are only interested in lining their own pockets and bank accounts, growing fat and rich. They're leaders in Qatar. They're leaders in Qatar, and they're leaders here. They just want to have more and more innocent civilians die for the cause, to be martyred, to be shaheeds, all in the name of fighting the Zionist entity, which pulled out of Gaza, but let's just gloss over that. They want Israel. They want the Jews dead or slaughtered or converted. No more, no less. They will take nothing else. And they have taken nothing else, even though peace agreements were on the table, more than 10 of them. They said no. The Palestinian Authority said no. Palestinian Hamas, let's say, said no. Other terrorist organizations said no, because they do not want peace and prosperity and security for their civilians and their people. No. They want to perpetuate that poverty-stricken refugee living in squalor. There's a reason why the Palestinians are the only refugees who get it passed down hereditarily. Because other refugees understand, this is the reality now. Let us integrate. Let us have some sort of a shift. No. The UN, in an attempt to do I don't know what, has established UNRWA to take care specifically of the Palestinian refugees, because they believe that they are so powerless. They infantilize them to such a degree that they say, they don't know what's going on. They can't do anything. We need to do it for them. The great predator and victim narrative gone on steroids. So you can think that, why is it so young? Because of the terrorist organizations. If they would lay down their arms, we could have peace. If Israel laid down its arms, there would be no Israel. Golda Meir said that, and she was right with every single word. Passion says, that's not true, bro. Just stop, man. Stop the propaganda. I don't understand why you're just trying to be a propagandist. I don't know if you're talking to me or someone else. I am not a propagandist. I actually live here and have lived here most of my life. Served in the army here. Okay, I've seen a thing or two. I'm not claiming to be highly knowledgeable or definitely not all-knowing. There are things going on behind closed doors and things that I'm not going to be privy to. Of course. But I know from simply living here a thing or two about living here. I was there in the 90s in Jerusalem when buses were exploding. I was there in the second Intifada with knifings and Molotov cocktails and people running each other over. I've been there. I've seen it. You won't be able to tell me that I'm just being a propagandist. And if you are saying that I'm just like a hasbara shill, even though I say that I am critical of the government, of the establishment, of the army, and I am, prove it to me. If you're going to claim that I'm a propagandist, prove it to me actually. How am I a propagandist? How? Okay. Yes, you deny genocide. Yes, I do. Genocide has an actual technical definitions. I know you people would love to simply slap the label of genocide on what Israel is doing to justify your own, well, anti-Israel and Jew hatred. But, unfortunately for you, genocide has an actual technical definition and a way through which it is viewed in the law, let's say. So you can make the argument, and people do, that the way Israel is acting is not okay and it's approaching something approximating genocide. But again, those courts and those humanitarian organizations are vehemently anti-Israel from the get-go. The UN is anti-Israel. You can see that from the amount of resolutions it passes against Israel, as opposed to the entirety of the world. So there's definitely an anti-Israel bias. Does that excuse the things that Israel does that are wrong? No. Does it excuse the things that the army does that are wrong? No. And not the government or the establishment either. No. We all do things that are wrong. We are trying to right our wrongs. But I'm not about to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, oh, Israel does things that are wrong, therefore sometimes because that's the case, I'm going to just let it go altogether. No. That's not the way that I think. That's not the way that I act. It's not the way that I am. And I am denying that a genocide is going on. I am not denying that innocent people are dying, and that's a horrible thing, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for Israel whenever an innocent person dies on each side, on any side of this fence, if you will. And it's a joy and celebration for Hamas because another martyr joins the ranks of Shahidim up in Jannah. And the people who survive this Shahid can now be rallied to the cause and brought under the banner of, self-righteousness and hatred and warmongering, death cultish behavior, and feel like they are on the right side of history. So yes, I do deny that that's going on. And if you say that what I'm doing is wrong, by all means, if I don't get to you in the chat, hit me up in the comments and we can have this out. I'm not a debater, but I am a converser, right? I'm not trying to change your opinion. I'm not trying to alter your views. I'm merely stating mine. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I hold no great truth. I hold no great wisdom, right? I'm not such a maven, but I know what I've seen. I know what I've lived. Now, and I don't follow the media, politics. I haven't voted in 20 years. So I haven't been under that much of an influence. Now you could say, no, you're under so much influence, Jonathan, but you don't even see, right? You can't see the forest from the trees, how much of a hasbara propagandist you are. That I can say, okay, so show me the individual trees, take it in the context of the narrative, not just your narrative, into actual historical narrative, because many times it depends on the time frame. Do you go back 5 years, 50 years, 500 years, 5,000 years, 50,000 years? When do you start that clock? Where do you say, okay, so it begins now? Let's start seeing history from now. Things change. The lens through which you view this region, the people within it, the wars and the conquests and the expeditions and the liberations, to this day, it depends. The lens through which you view the situation obviously informs what you think of the situation. Let's continue. It's called apartheid, Mr. Buddy, says WT. No, there is no apartheid. There are just approximately 2 million Arab Israelis living here. They can be in every school, in every industry, in every facet of Israeli life. So while you can, and people do, while you can make the argument that certain elements of Israel are more Jewish than democratic, and there is something to that, it's not apartheid. It's not racism. Go take a look at the apartheid that actually took place in South Africa and tell me that the same thing exists for Arabs. If anything, the apartheid is the other way around. I'm live? Yes, there was a glitch. The signs here, for instance, just outside my home are in Hebrew and English and Arabic. Okay, I've worked with Arabs. I've served in the army with Arabs. Do you understand? They are everywhere, and good thing too, because they are able to integrate into the society despite the conflict that they are undoubtedly experiencing. Am I Palestinian? Am I Israeli? What's going on here? They have the balls and the commitment and the loyalty, at least to some degree, to the place that they live in, the society that they are a part of. And they are 2 million, all right? There are about 10 million people living here. 2 million of them, just about 20% are Arab, Palestinian, right? Christians, Muslims, Arab Israelis. So how is there an apartheid here? Please tell me, once again, I'd love to know. Is this guy religious, says Christopher Baker? No, I don't consider myself religious. Others might. I don't consider myself religious. Israel has English subtitles, a lot of their signs. Israel has English and Arabic on their signs because there are many Arabs here, and we don't not acknowledge that, obviously. And right, a Supreme Court justice who was an Arab sent a former Israeli president to jail, right? Suleiman sent Katsav to jail. You tell me, how is that apartheid? How is it an apartheid if we on the Supreme Court we have an Arab justice on the Supreme Court? So, or had, I'm not sure who's there now. How is that apartheid? We have Arabs in the army. We have Arabs in the police. We have Arabs in art, medicine, industry, construction, whatever. They are everywhere, pulling their weight, okay? Doing their part for this cohesive society, as cohesive as it can be, as people living under the flag of the State of Israel. And they could be salty about that, but nevertheless, and I don't dispute the fact that some of them may be highly conflicted, and there are certain Arab Israelis that go, you know what, screw this, and go and carry out terrorist attacks. But by and large, these 2 million people living here, Christians and Muslim Arabs, they are citizens just like me. They have the same rights. They don't have, they have different responsibilities because I, for instance, serve in the army. They don't have to serve in the army. That's a whole other story. But we have the same rights. Definitely. Let's continue. It's late here. Have a good night, brother. One love, says Mike. Indeed, one love. May love cover all wrongdoings. You control their water. You take their land. You make laws for them and not yourselves. There are more than 700,000 illegal settlers right now. That's how fool. Well, Mr. Buddy, you see how you're moving the goalposts? Do you see how first you're saying, oh, you don't know your execution and your faith, you fool, and now you're saying, oh, you don't know this? No, that is called moving the goalposts, and I can answer every single one of these things. When we have enemies at our gates, inside of us and outside of us, who have vowed to destroy us, we need to have checkpoints. Any other country would do the same thing, because we do not want to be overrun by militant terrorists who want to slaughter us and drive us into the sea. I don't think anybody who has an instinct of self-preservation would agree to that. So if you have enemies inside of you and outside of you, obviously you'll have to erect some borders. Obviously you will have to have something of, that is not apartheid, you are mistaken. Really? So the borders all over the world are literally apartheid because they keep people apart. Man, you are really, truly full of it right now, Mr. Buddy. Once again, you're moving those goalposts. But okay. Let's see. You make laws for them and not yourselves. No, actually, the Palestinian Authority is the one who legally governs their population. The security is something that we try and keep there. But, right, because there are terrorist organizations there, and the Palestinian Authority is also a terrorist organization who pays money to people, to the families of people who murder Israelis because they support terrorism, and they support the martyrdom of their own people, and they support the cause that will cause Israel to be eradicated and replaced with Islam. So they are terrorists. They are doing it by force. They are supporting terrorism. So that's why laws are made over there by them. They govern themselves over there. Hamas governs the West, the PA in the West Bank, and Hamas in Gaza. So once again, false, mistaken. There are more than 700 illegal settlers. Again, wrong. You might consider it illegal only because you dispute the Israeli occupation, if you will, and it being the spoils of war in a war that Israel did not start, or that people were displaced. But again, displacement and the switching of populations and the transfer of people happens with every single war where large swaths of the population are in different sides. It happened after World War II. Why aren't you crying about the Germans who were displaced? Why aren't you crying about India and Pakistan who had this transfer of population? You see how you're nitpicking? You see how you choose Israel? You choose the Jews, because if no Jews, no news. It's really awful that you are being so duplicitous. Simply say you're a Jew hater, you're anti-Israel, everybody else has one standard, and Israel has its own unique standard, a double standard by which you choose to judge it, a double, triple, quadruple standard, and that's that. At least be honest with yourself and say, nope, it's just because you're a Jew, it's just because you're Israeli, that's it, you have no leg to stand on whatsoever, and you are wrong. Say that. Say that you hate. Really, truly. Because what you're saying makes zero sense. You move the goalposts and then you're trying to force a conversation, to force an argument where it does not exist. In Israel, keep up, little buddy. Okay, what laws apply to Arab Israelis that do not apply to me? Give me a few, please. I did say, if you recall, that there are certain elements in the state of Israel because it is a Jewish democratic state, not a fully, if you will, secular democratic state. It is a Jewish democratic state, that there are elements, the classic example of which is the national anthem, where Jerusalem and Zion are mentioned, okay, which is a holy place for us, but it's only the third holy place for Muslims. And so there's kind of a discrepancy there. Likewise, the coat of arms of Israel is the menorah. The flag of Israel has a Star of David, all Hebrew symbols. So in that sense, there is a difference in the sense that some elements of Israel are more Jewish than democratic. However, we still remain irrevocably a democratic state. So if you're going to say that there's apartheid in Israel, show me how. If you're going to say that there are different laws for 2 million people who are living here who carry the same ID card that I do as an Israeli citizen, show me how. Actually show me the laws where it says. Otherwise, I call you a bullshitter, a liar, and somebody who's just here to stir up trouble. And hey, far be it from me to judge. Be a bullshitter, be a liar, stir up trouble. It's all well and good, but at least be honest about it. At least be honest about it. All right, it's been just about 2 hours. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you, you good people who were here, those watching now, those watching later. If I didn't get to you in the chat, I'm sorry. Please leave a comment. I address every single comment that is addressed to me. Remember, I'm not a debater. I'm simply a converser. I'm interested in discourse. If I said something that you disagree with, by all means, push back and challenge me and fact check me. Ideally, do it in a civil way, right? In a way that actually facilitates proper discourse. Simply shouting slogans or calling me names or casting ad hominems my way doesn't do anything but prove my point and not yours. So maybe try some discernment and some caution. And I will see you in the next live stream where the wonders never cease. Until then, be blessed, be a blessing, be the light in other people's lives. I will see you maybe tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow. Until then, I thank you. The likes and the subs and the views and the love and the hate and the vitriol and the insults and the trolls and the spammers, and it's all great. It's all wonderful. I welcome the free speech. I welcome this little town square that we have going on here. And hopefully I'll see you again. Until then, l'chaim, to life.